I'll be honest with you, I never would have imagined ever when I woke up this morning, when we were planning to do this show, that the first game I would discuss was Wexford against Westmeath, because like Westmeath have been hammered in all their games in the Leinster Hurling Championship this year, pretty much. And I think the last thing we expected was for Westmeath to actually go away to Wexford in Wexford Park and beat them away from home. Like it's the first time Westmeath have beaten Wexford in the championship since 1940. They were 17 points down early on at the start of the second half, and they came roaring back. I think they outscored Wexford by something like 4-13 or to 5 points or something ridiculous and crazy like that. I mean, a phenomenal turnaround. And you'd have to say, like, this is probably one of the greatest comebacks in the history of the GAA, if not the biggest. When you look at the sort of gap that is supposed to be there between these two sides as well, like the fact that they beat Wexford is a shock enough, but to come from 17 points down, it's just remarkable, really.
It's unreal. And as I said earlier, like I turned off just notifications once the halftime score went in, but fair play to Westmeath. What a performance. And I, Jason Keelan, coincidentally, a Westmeath man on my podcast this weekend, he wasn't confident at all that Westmeath would win this game. And he was, we were going over to the Antrim game. That's how little we thought of this game during the week. We thought this would be a whitewash. Wexford should win the game. And we were thinking head to Westmeath and Antrim next weekend, but suddenly the pendulum has completely changed. And as I said earlier, Wexford could even go down now if they lose to Kilkenny and Westmeath lose to Antrim, which is a realistic possibility. So, yeah, it's going to be a tough watch for Wexford fans next week. And I actually recall you saying a few weeks back that Wexford could be in trouble with Joe McDonagh. I'm thinking, really, could they? Like, this should be Westmeath. This should, let's be honest. At home, especially in Wexford Park. But how Westmeath, but all the elements were against them when you think about it. They were on 0 points coming into today. 17 points down at halftime, away from home in Wexford Park, and they somehow win the game. It's incredible, really, and an incredible performance by Westmeath. And obviously, we'll know what went right for Westmeath, what went wrong for Wexford later on in the Sunday game. But looking at that scoreline alone, it's a remarkable result. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's the biggest championship comeback in history. I was looking earlier at a 42 article earlier on today, and one that jumped off the page. There was only one that jumped off the page as significant as that in both codes, and that was in the football between Wexford and Meath in 2008. I'm not sure if any of the viewers remember that. It was a 10-point margin at half time, and then Wexford somehow came back into it. But this is a whole other level. Remarkable comeback for Westmeath, and congratulations to all of them. And I think Jason Keenan for the Loaf for Bread podcast will be jumping off the roofs at this stage now tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, absolutely remarkable. Like, Noel Mitchell getting a couple of late goals. He came off the bench. O'Brien with 2 goals and 3. Noel O'Brien with 2 goals and 3 points as well. Like, just a phenomenal comeback from a Westmeath perspective. And as you said there, like, they came into the championship with 0 points. They haven't won. I think they beat Laois last year, but like, in terms of a big championship win against any of the big teams around the country, I can't remember like the last time. You might have to go as far back as 1940 since they've actually got like a big win against one of the sort of bigger sides. So to come back from 16 or from 17 points down, and you also question as well from a Wexford point of view, like, what on earth happened at Wexford Park? Like, how do you blow a 17-point lead against Westmeath? Like, with all due respect, like, that's incredible. Like,
it really is. And I don't know, it was the same story today. Obviously, it wasn't live shown, and we'll see later in the Sunday game. But a few weeks back, they were playing against Dublin. They had 48 shots. They hit 20 wides, around that number. And that was absolutely, you'd question how on earth did they lose that game. And I don't know what it is about Wexford. Like, it's been a common theme for them in years gone by. Like, they take ridiculous shots from ridiculous angles and eventually put them wide loads of times. I think they had, what was this, 18 wides in one game last year as well. Like, it's remarkable how they can fall, really, Wexford. But even take it back to last year, when you look at the order of the quarter final, they were 10 minutes away for beating Clare, and Clare are now in a Munster final. It's just remarkable how things just change, really. And to lose a 17 points up against a Westmeath team with no points on the board, Wexford are at home, 0 confidence for Westmeath. Westmeath fans don't even believe in themselves. and they somehow blow the lead. I don't know what went wrong. What did Darry Egan actually say to them at halftime? Because by my understanding, maybe it was something like the Wexford lads were having a joke around at halftime or something. Because that is inexcusable. Like, I know Westmeath, fair play to them. Fair play to them. They got the win today, and fair play to them for winning by 2 points. But the other side of the coin, Wexford, like, how on earth did this happen today? I really don't know. And I'd say the lads, like, coincidentally as well on my podcast, I had lads, Ben Burney and Gary Dorn from the Wexford Hurling podcast. They were quite hopeful of Wexford in the next few weeks or so. And they were quite hopeful of beating Dublin last week. Now they have to worry about relegation. They must be tearing their hair out right now watching this. Like, I know you can lose a game to an underdog and stuff like that. Like, we see in the football today with Kildare and Sligo, but that was a tight game throughout. This was 17 points at half time, and you somehow blow a lead. I don't think there's any coming back from this for Wexford. Even if they do stay up next week, it's a long road to come back for Wexford after this.
Yeah, and they are out of the championship as well. Like, we'll look at the league table in a minute, but that does rule them out, and it does put Dublin through to the next round, and playing one of the Joe McDonough sides, unless they happen to beat Galway and we put ourselves in a Leinster final. But yeah, just madness really. Like, and even looking at it there, like Westmeath, I think, like, looking at it in Score Bio, I don't know his first name, so apologies, but Egerton got a black card at one stage in the second half. So they were down to 14 men for a 10-minute period, and yet they still managed to come back from the dead. Like, I mean, does it show like that the gap maybe isn't as big as what we thought? Like, we seen Antrim obviously get a draw against Dublin earlier in the year. They were fairly competitive against Wexford as well. They were only beaten by 4 points. And obviously Westmeath got hammered by Galway and Kilkenny, beaten quite comfortably by Dublin. They drew at Wexford last year at home. They've now beaten Wexford away from home. Like, is it a sign that maybe the sort of gap between like the sides like Westmeath and Antrim, who we all would have perceived as, you know, relegation candidates from the Leinster Championship, does it show now that the gap is somewhat closed?
Maybe so, but yeah, you have to question as well how far have Wexford fallen back, because I don't think Wexford underage is that bad. Judged by the under-20 final the other night against Offaly, and even if, and I'll go back to my previous point about Wexford, even if they do stay up, you probably have Offaly coming up next year. We'll just say they beat Carlow in the Joe McDonough Cup final because they are favourites for next week. Best of luck to both sides, by the way. But if Offaly win that, they have the likes of Adam Screeney coming through the ranks. They've Charlie Mitchell. They still have Owen Call there. Like, Offaly, looking at that result today, will be licking their lips coming up to Liam McCarthy next season. And Wexford could go down next season, if not this season. You know, it's incredible how far they've fallen. And Antrim, like, it's a big result for Antrim as well, because Antrim have to go into that Westmeath game in Mullingar next week and go on and win it. You know, it's incredible, really, how things can turn. And like I was saying a few weeks ago, you don't know with this Wexford team. They could beat Kilkenny at home. Like, they beat them in Nolan Park last year. Like, who knows for this game? But honestly, and I think you think the same yourself, Aaron, I don't think they have a chance against Kilkenny. I know they're all put in the Leinster final, fair play to Kilkenny for that. But I don't think they're even getting close to even Kilkenny's second team at this rate, Wexford. They are a shambles at the moment, and they need major reconstruction for next season. And will Darragh Egan stay on? Like, if Wexford go down this year, I don't think there's any coming back from that for Darragh Egan, and it's going to be very, very tough to pick themselves back up from that, despite the good performances from their under 20s. And there is players coming through there, AJ Redmond and Cian Byrne. Cian Byrne scored 14 points against Offaly. But that is a major, major kick in the teeth for Wexford today. And you don't know how they're going to respond after this.
Yeah, I agree as well. Like, it's hard to really know like how they're going to fight back, or how they're going to come back from this. Like, the fact that, as you said there, like, they had a 16-point lead, they were so comfortable, and as you said, like, they were very close to beating Clare in the All-Ireland quarterfinals last year. They would have went into an All-Ireland semi-final against Kilkenny, having already beaten Kilkenny earlier in the year. So like, it's mad to think how far it's fallen. Like, they just don't look like they seem to be very reliant on Lee Chin, and whether it was a huge amount of complacency, maybe like the fact that they were 16 points up, 17 points up, and they thought, well, let's just completely turn our focus and turn our attention towards the Kilkenny game. Dara Egan was maybe saying to the lads, like, don't get an injury, just manage the game, and to completely throw it away. Like, I was looking on Twitter, some people saying it was the worst result possibly in Wexford GAA's history. A lot of people calling out the county board as well, which I think is fair when you look at the decline of the footballers in the last sort of 10, 15 years. Like, Wexford just seem in some mess, and like, they might get out of trouble and they might avoid relegation, depending on what happens between Antrim and Westmeath next week. But you're looking at Wexford and thinking, like, they could go back here. Like, if we've seen what Offaly, like what happened with Offaly, they went all the way down to the Christie Ring. If it can happen to them, it can happen to Wexford.
It definitely can. But even looking at the team sheet today, like, you look at them players that Wexford have at their disposal: Conor McDonald, Lee Chin, Jack O'Connor, Rory O'Connor. Like, they're normally quality players, and you just imagine how on earth did they throw this game away? And I'm even looking at Scorpio now. They didn't even bring off any players at halftime, just to rest players for the Kilkenny next week. So what on earth went wrong? I don't know what it was really. Look, as I said previously, the underage is there for Wexford. The players are there. The manager, like Dara Egan, nearly got to an All-Ireland semi-final last year against Kilkenny, I think it was. And now to lose to Wexford and be on the edge of relegation, it's some turn up for the books for Wexford. And I don't know how they're going to respond from this. Is it the most embarrassing result in Wexford's county history? It probably is, to be honest with you. And I think the players would have to take full responsibility for this. It's an incredible downfall, and yeah, I don't know how they recover really. But fair play to Westmeath again. What a win for them. I seen Kieran Doyle scored 11 points as well today, which was an excellent performance from him. But yeah, and Niall O'Brien, excellent performance as well, fully deserved today. But for Wexford, what are they going to do next week if they go down to the Joe McDonagh Cup? And it's an interesting point, actually, you mentioned about Offaly. Could it happen to Wexford? Like, it's a difficult one because you don't know who's coming up from the Christie Ring at the same time. I'm not sure. I don't think it's Mayo. I don't think London, Tyrone. I think it's Derry and Meath in the final. I think it's that anyway. So you'd imagine Wexford are better than either of them two teams anyway. Well, I hope that is the case for Wexford, because if it isn't, my God, how far they've fallen after the Clare game. Like, for going from 6th in the country realistically last season to all the way down to what, 12th or 13th? It's incredible, really, Aaron. And yeah, you don't know how Wexford hurling's going to recover from this.
Absolutely. Yeah, Irish goalkeeper says here, what a result for Westmeath. Wexford won Leinster in 2019. They did, and it's incredible to think, like, you had a lot of Wexford fans who wanted Davy to leave and everything else, and look, maybe the same thing would have happened under Davy Fitz. We don't exactly know, but yeah, it's incredible to think of the fall of Wexford. Shane says, considering Westmeath, we're missing Killian Doyle and Angus Clark as well. Like, they're two big players as well. I think Killian Doyle might be away in the UK or something. So a huge blow to not have him available, and to still go and do what they've done makes the comeback even that bit more special, in my opinion.